What's up, guys? Welcome to Double Check News. It's Dan.
It's Yi.
Woohoo!
I'm filling in for Mike because he's on a trip, so he'll be back. Don't worry.
He will be back.
It's us for this week.
That's right. So today we have probably one of the most touching stories I've read all year. Comes out of China, and basically it's about this young boy. He's 12 years old. He's walking the streets of Henan, I think it was, basically collecting scraps, recyclables, and then he's selling them for very little amount of money, all to pay for his stepmother's cancer treatment.
Yeah, and it's really heartbreaking to see because he's so young, and it's the summertime, it's really hot, and he's just trying to, think about it, there's very few summer jobs available for children, in China.
Right.
And he's trying, if any, and he's trying the best he can. And this lady, she's not his birth mom, actually. Right. He says that she's been very good to his family. She's been with him every step of the way. He really loves her a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the parts I love many parts of this story, and one of them is, in Chinese culture, I feel like, first of all, back when I was growing up, people didn't break up. And then I feel like my parents' generation, they're divorced, and then people after my parents' generation was more like, if you want to get divorced, you want to get divorced. So the fact that they were divorced in China is already like pretty heartbreaking as a family there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, if let's say the dad remarries or the mom remarries, it's hard to accept that person into your family. And I feel like they really, this woman really cared for this boy and the father.
Well, according to the boy, the mother was no less of a true mother to him than his biological mother. And his dad is actually out of town. The reason that we don't hear about the dad is because somebody else in their family had been sick, and then the dad basically got into debt trying to save, I think it was a grandparent, and then now he has to work out of town to get out of debt, and so he's never there, so it's just up to him to take care of the stepmother who has leukemia, and it's just a very terrible situation all around.
And the working out of town in China, that's really not uncommon. So many times, because in so many areas people don't make a lot of money at all, so they actually, for example, couples will leave their kids back in their home rural town
with their parents,
and then go off literally for most of the year and only come back once or twice. So the kid for the holidays, only to send back just a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And what's been going on, what's been getting more attention in China in the last maybe I would say 5 years, 10 years, is that a lot of these stories like this, where families have to go to extremes, because this is an extreme. It's like over 100 degrees out in the summertime. If you guys ever been to China in the summertime, I grew up, I left America, then I went back to China, and during the summertime, and I was like, it's so hot.
It's like sweltering. It's very, very hot. And he's just this young boy. Every time I see this, I'm like, oh, why? And it's really sad because it's already hard, right? Yeah. When there's no one ill in the family. But what happens is once you have one or two people in your family who are ill, all of a sudden you just have these astronomical medical bills, and a lot of times the health insurance can't cover it, or there's no health insurance. A lot of people in China don't have the right kind of health insurance. There is health insurance available to people, but a lot of people fall through the cracks. I would say America's not much better in terms of health insurance, but China actually, it is considered to have a pretty comprehensive coverage for people, but just because the person has insurance doesn't mean that they can get quality health care.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and a lot of people, particularly those who are from rural areas but moved into the cities for jobs, and those jobs are often maybe not stable or not a solid job where they can stay for a long period of time. For example, if you're a restaurant worker, you're gonna jump from one place to another, then you're not going to have the right kind of health insurance, because health insurance in China is also provided by the employer, much like in America. So a lot of people just fall through the cracks. And for this family, obviously that's what happened. The stepmother doesn't have the proper health insurance, and she's just in the hospital. Nobody can provide that much money for her medical bills.
The family right now, as it stands, is 100,000 RMB in debt, which is, let's say, I think that's like $15,000, which for a family, like you're saying, in the more rural areas, it's astronomical.
It's even astronomical considering in America. Who has just $15,000 lying around? Nobody. Some people, but most of us don't. And that's a lot of money. And people, I mean, leukemia treatments, that's just, it's extremely expensive. And what is this little boy, he can't do, he's so optimistic. He's like, you know what, if only I can collect enough garbage or scraps, I can try to save my stepmother. And you're just like, oh my gosh. And here's the thing about China, right? It's like things like crowdsourcing isn't very developed there. So it's very hard for families like this to even reach out to a group of people who might want to help. It's very difficult for them. I mean, obviously they're getting a little bit of attention now because we were seeing this story come out, but otherwise it's hard for them to go out and be like, hey, this is my situation, can somebody help me? I really don't know what to do. So this boy here is very helpless, and every time I see this photo, I'm just like,
yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It's really, yeah.
You actually read my mind, and I was gonna say that at least here in America, what you mentioned, crowdfunding, that's a real thing. Like here, something lately that's been helping people deal with these astronomical bills for unfortunate situations is literally, I can make a website and I can say, help, and people will, strangers will donate money. And it can be for a cause, it can be here. I mean, yes, they can try to raise money, but realistically, they're not going to be able to raise a lot of money.
I mean, by what he's trying to do, he like collecting scraps, he can only get like a couple bucks for a lot, like a couple
yuan.
RMB, like it's just
like cents.
Like, you know, it's just, I don't even know. I mean, I wish I could help them. This is just a really, really terrible situation, and unfortunately, this is definitely not the only family. There's like many more families like this who are struggling, but they have really nowhere out. But I have to say, I have to commend the little boy. You know, like how many boys, you know, like when they fall into this situation when their families are in crisis, can they at least try to do something about it? Like I think sometimes, you know, we hear a lot of negative stories coming out of China, and this story obviously isn't a happy story, but it still shows that, you know, there are these kids, there are these human beings in China who have these amazing spirits, you know, like they're like, he's so optimistic and he's so just hopeful about life and hardworking. I think that's really what inspires me. Like you hear a lot of these stories coming out of China, and I think that, you know, it shows me that, you know, there's still hope.
It's so awesome. And you know what, hopefully his mom gets better, but regardless of what happens to his family, I mean, I think this kid will be like he's got a great head on his shoulders. Anyways, guys, well, we hope you liked that story. It's very sad, so let us know in the comments below what you guys think about it. And don't forget, we do have a new channel where Yi and I and Mike play with kids' toys. Speaking of kids, we have a great fun old time playing.
I feel so ashamed for saying that. It's like, wow, the first world problems, toys, can't pay my medical bills.
I know. Oh my gosh.
What is going on here? Anyways,
I guess to lighten the mood, right? If you guys want a good laugh, watch us.
After crying, after hearing the story, please, if you want to be cheered up, go to that channel and see us, you know.
Exactly.
Play with some toys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. See you later.
Bye. Bye.